and welcome to Building the Health System We Deserve, a podcast from the Health Funders Association. I'm Dinesh Naidu. Much of the healthcare debate focuses on policy, regulation, and system reform. But at the center of the medical scheme environment are people, individuals and families who rely on these systems, not only when they are ill, but increasingly to support their overall well-being. Today, I am joined by Teddy Mosomothane, Principal Officer and CEO of Bankmed, one of South Africa's most established medical schemes, and very proudly say, a former chairperson of the Health Funders Association. Teddy, it is a great privilege to have you with us today.
Dinesh, the privilege is mine. I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, fantastic. So Teddy, before we get into the broader system-wide discussion, I want to start with you and understand you and your career journey, right? So what did you study, and what drew you into this crazy world of medical schemes?
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, I promised to answer your question just now, but what I do want to say first, Dinesh, because I may not get an opportunity to say this, is that my observations, especially now that I'm outside of the board of directors, is that you and your team, supported by the board, of course, are doing an exceptional job. And I'm very proud to be associated with HFA. So please keep up the good work, and I hope the board of directors do get to know this.
So as a former chairperson of HFA, that means a world to us, and thank you so much for it. We appreciate that compliment.
Excellent. Now, just getting back to your question, now my core qualifications include a BCom degree that I completed at UCT. At the time, as you may suspect, there was a quiet intention to pursue the CA route.
Yes.
But having gone to some vacation jobs with a few, audit firms, I came out of that experience, convinced that is not the line I definitely want to pursue. That is my way of saying, although I did a BCom degree focusing on the accounting side of things, I didn't go the CA route. Later in the years, in the course of my career, I also did what is referred to as the Global Executive Development Program at GIBS, which I enjoyed very much. And then later, and after concluding those studies, I decided that I'll never study again. That was an executive MBA program at UCT. Yeah. So those are my core qualifications, if you like, or programs that I completed. But you also ask what drew me to the medical scheme industry. The reality is, in the course of my career, I've always been in the finance business unit. When I came to Bankmed, I was not looking necessarily for a medical scheme. I was looking for an organization that required my services to head up a finance business unit. And at the time, within the scheme office, there was no finance business unit. There was complete reliance on the administrator. So I came into the Bankmed space way back in 2008, when the head office was still in Cape Town. So the long and short of what I'm saying is I was not necessarily looking for a medical scheme, but 18 years later, I'm still here, albeit in a different role.
But it's quite fascinating. Just to quickly touch on the point, and particularly it's a piece of advice for people studying today. It doesn't matter what you study.
Yes.
Just study, and your career will find your path. You could, literally, I'm an engineer and now in healthcare. So that's it. Your study actually just teaches you how to cope with life. Correct. And afterwards, your career will take off. Right?
I fully agree.
Yes, you've joined from 2008 Bank, but you've been actually at the helm as CEO of Bankmed for over 12 years.
Yes.
So tell me, what does a day in the life of a principal officer and CEO of a medical scheme actually look like?
This is something that my kids often ask me, and I tend to struggle to respond to it. But let me put it this way. Now, medical schemes in general, and Bankmed is no exception, are governed by a board of trustees. So the board of trustees is the highest governance structure within any medical scheme, and the effective functioning of the board and the board committees is important in what I have to do, because I have to ensure that I support them in the execution of their responsibilities. And this plays out in us having to, attend board meetings and, and board committee meetings. And this is preceded by us ensuring that they have all the documentation and reports that they require. So there is a lot of that, and then preparing to report to, those governance structures. So that tends to take a bit of time in the course of my daily routines. But secondly, the board also entrusts me as the principal officer, supported by the rest of the scheme management, to execute on the strategic initiatives that we will be entrusted with. Okay. And this is important, and I want to use this to respond to your question in a manner that makes use of some framework.
Yes.
Now, frameworks tend to help me a lot because it forces me to be structured in general. Without being structured, I get easily lost. So in the strategic framework that we employ within the scheme office, it really is made up of a number of strategic perspectives, if you like, or strategic pillars, and this is really used as a tool. It's not like one is married to a specific framework, but it is a tool that assists us in executing our responsibilities. Now, this framework, amongst the strategic perspectives that it has, is the strategic perspective of resource enablers for value creation. Now, within that perspective, you have the responsibilities that revolve around leading the team that you work with. So creating an environment in which our human capital and human resources are able to thrive makes a significant part of what I have to do, in the course of what I need to do. Now, in this space, I will be supported by our HR consultant. It's also in this space where we will also have outsourced service partners, because in the business model that we operate within, at Bankmed, we have administrative and operational activities outsourced to an administrator. And to the extent that we are or have the responsibility to oversee the execution and the delivery of value through these outsourced service partners, managing those service partners also takes a lot of my day. Now, immediately above that, within this framework, we have internal processes, and this is a space where aspects like service level measures will come into play. In fact, we had an operations meeting yesterday where we had an administrator reporting to us, and the things that we'll be looking out for in those deliberations are whether or not they are meeting the SLAs, as an example, in the delivery, of value to our members. So that's a second layer in the strategic framework. We do all these things to ultimately create value,
Yes.
for our
Yes.
members.
Yes.
And this is a core
Yeah.
of our business, and it becomes important for us to ensure that what we do nurtures and enhances the value that we have created for our members. And to the extent that there are parameters and success indicators that we have to work
Yes.
within to make sure that we protect that value. And this also entails interacting with our stakeholders and our clients and our members. So that keeps me busy. And I always look at the framework as a point of reference. And ultimately, Tonesh, all the things that we have to do have to ensure that we protect the sustainability of the scheme.
Yes.
Because as you will appreciate, medical schemes are not required to pursue profits, but we certainly have to ensure that what we do, across all these strategic perspectives, protects the sustainability of the scheme in how we deliver the value that our members deserve.
So thanks for pointing out, because and I trust the members that are listening to this actually takes comfort. The level of governance, the level of structure is so important and critical, and the oversight is there. And the reason being is because, firstly, these are members' money, right?
Absolutely.
And you've got over 200,000 beneficiaries in Bankmed, and probably over 4 billion rand of money that's contributed to pay for healthcare. So you need this level of trust protection, because ultimately it's making sure that their money is used.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Tonesh.
So I actually want to ask, let's transition then from the leadership perspective to actually the core, where people are the center of the system, right? And my question to you then is, over this period of time, how have members' expectations evolved or not over the last few years? Right?
Yeah. Now, it's important for us to appreciate that, believe it or not, Bankmed goes way back to 1914.
Sure.
So
Wow.
we are 112 years,
Wow.
this year. So this is an organization that has been, around, for a while. So it would be fair to say that over the years, the expectations would have shifted. But let's talk about that for a moment. Now, to the extent that the expectation on the part of the members is that they have to enjoy the better value that we promise them, when we engage them. Those fundamentals do not change. The members certainly anticipate that we must stay on our toes as a medical scheme and the officers of the scheme to make sure that we continue to protect and nurture this better value that they want to enjoy. But notwithstanding the fact that the fundamentals stay the same in that space, there is an understanding that there must be continuous improvement in however we do things. So that is with reference to the core features of what we sell, to our members, and to the extent that there's an expectation of better value, I make the point that it stays relatively the same, but continuous improvement is something that is expected of us. At the same time, we have come to appreciate that most of our members are bankers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And banking institutions have done very well in being very innovative in how they want to deliver what they have to offer to their own clients. The first thing that I do in the morning, interestingly, in as far as reaching out to my phone, I would probably open the bank app before I open the Bankmed app because there's a lot more activity, in the banking app, and now you also appreciate that nobody gets excited about what we have to offer.
Yes.
But be that as it may, the bankers that we are here to support are really committed to make sure that how their clients experience them is as pleasant as it can possibly be. Now, it is in that space of customer experience where the expectations of the members have certainly evolved, and technology becomes an important factor in that space. So I suppose what I'm saying, in the customer experience space, there's certainly been an evolution over the years, and we certainly have to keep up, because the banking institutions tend to be ahead of the curve in as far as what is happening in trying to make sure that members enjoy a pleasant experience when they interact with them.
And I think, with the Times, it's always about making sure it's value creation and you improving that value creation. So as a former banker myself, one of the biggest issues and challenges was actually understanding my salaries generally go up at CPI, right? But medical schemes who are meant to be serving me always go up at CPI plus 3 to 4%, well above. And one of the biggest tensions in the system is affordability. And every year, healthcare takes up more of my household income. How do you explain, and what's driving these cost increases?
Now, Tanesha, one of the points that I need to make as a point of departure is that there was a study a few years ago, and I suspect there's a body of knowledge that confirms what I'm going to put on the table, and that is the fact that access to good quality health care does not come cheap is a global phenomenon. It's not something that is unique to South Africa. And it's important for us to appreciate that from the word go. Obviously, we don't put that on the table to hide behind it. We must find ways and solutions that are possible in our own environment to make sure that we are responsive to the affordability pressures, as your question, presents them. Just as an aside, from a Bankmed perspective, we are acutely conscious of the affordability considerations, so much that in how we articulate our purpose, we say we want to be an affordable medical scheme that guarantees best of class member experience, value, and quality. So we are very intentional in making this very bold commitment, an aspiration about us being committed to respond to affordability considerations. But the drivers of costs, which is central to the question that you have raised, include, the fact that as we age, for an example, our healthcare needs also tend to, go up. So age factors contribute to one of the drivers, of course, and as human beings, we are in the process of becoming, we will age, and with age comes, chronic conditions as well. So chronicity is one of the contributors or the drivers of, of these high cost increases. But also in the context of, these drivers of cost not being unique to, to South Africa. Amongst the drivers is the advancements in the technology space, and the costs associated with medicine also contribute significantly to what you have put on the table, and hospital and specialist costs are also amongst the key drivers in the space that we are operating in. So those are just a few examples of the factors that contribute a lot, to this inflation in the medical scheme environment.
It's important just to recap what you said. We have one of the best healthcare systems globally, honestly. And, we've got to pay fairly for those skills, because we're not just competing locally.
Yes.
Those skills are being competed and poached by international things. And we've got to make sure it's a fair pay, it's a fair value, etc. And still manage to make it affordable for members at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe it's just a question, right? Which is, how does Bankmed manage and minimize some of these costs for members? What strategies does it do to try and keep it more affordable?
Yeah. Now I'll give you an almost personal scenario in this regard to try to address your question. My daughter needed to see a specialist, a few weeks ago. And as she was just walking around through a mall, she saw a practice, and that would be providing the services that she would be looking for.
Right.
And and this specific practice sort of appealed to her, and she decided to start seeing them. Where I'm going with this is, we learned later that this practice was not in our network of doctors or a designated service providers. And on reflection, only after the fact, in fact,
when you got the bill,
it became clear when it turned out that my daughter has to go in for a minor procedure. And it's only at that point in time that we learned that this practice was not in our networks. So the relevance of this is that what we do at Bankmed, which is a practice that is not unique to us, is to try to make use of a network of providers with whom we would have negotiated and contracted rates that are aligned to the rates that the scheme would pay. So that is one measure that is certainly in place to make sure that we assist our members as far as affordability is concerned. Very much similar to that, we also contract with designated service providers. And the realities that we find ourselves operating in is that you can't force service providers to belong to networks of be designated service providers. But be that as it may, we try the best that we can. So these are just a few measures that that are certainly are in place. And I think it's also important for me to mention that the partnerships that we have with an industry leader that is engaged to provide administration services, to us and ultimately our members, and here I'm talking about Discovery Health. They do an exceptional job in negotiating with hospital groups and healthcare practitioner groups in as far as tariffs are concerned. And this is something that is in the public domain because it was also recognized by the Health Market Inquiry. So we try to extract as much value, from the partnership and the practices that we encourage our members, to certainly embrace, to make sure that the contributions that they make towards a medical aid cover, last them a lot longer. And we also encourage our members to sort of register for chronic illness benefits, quickly. And I think I'm going to pause there because there's a whole host of things that we really invest in.
I think I want to make the link clear, right? So I think when you contract for negotiated rates, right, what you actually, how this benefits the member is those lower cost rates means contributions are lower.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the benefit to the member, always thinking about member first.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
On that point though, schemes are increasingly faced with high cost treatments. For example, oncology medication can cost up to 2 million rand and per person per year. So if you asked us, we would love to fund everything, bring it on. But we simply cannot, unfortunately. The pie is only so big and the amount of money is limited. So how do you balance, compassion, because it's not, it's the few that would have that, versus the majority would have maybe a low-cost NCD disease. How does Bankmed balance that?
Yeah, with difficulty, Toneshan, and I think you'll appreciate better than most that as much as we want to find solutions, for our members, it is difficult to be responsive to all of of their requirements. But be that as it may, it's also important for me to make the point that amongst the values that we as Bankmed are committed to, one of our values is articulated as balance.
Yes.
And balance seems to feature in the question that you have raised. And I always see the role and the responsibilities that we have to carry out as scheme management, supported by the Board of Trustees, is to find the right balance across sometimes competing, considerations. And what I often highlight, especially from a restricted medical scheme perspective, is that we certainly try our best to find reasons to pay a claim. You know what I mean?
Be. Yes.
As opposed to finding reasons not to. But ultimately, we have to ensure that in whatever we do, we protect the sustainability of the scheme, because if you are not sustainable, you won't be around long enough to be compassionate towards anyone. And the scheme rules and other protocols that are in place try to make sure that we operate within parameters that will help us find that balance between trying to be compassionate on one hand and protecting the sustainability of the scheme on the other.
That governance levels coming in and showing through from it. Yeah. So, I mean, on that point though, right, in terms of affordable costs and stuff, so medical schemes are really only valued when it comes to those most complex events, right? It's not the ones where you got like a once-off event. So, I mean, if possible, in 2025, I mean, what was the highest claim that you had? And if you can tell us, I mean, how much was Bankmed paid for that?
Yeah. Now, I am not caught off guard by this question for one reason. As part of our reporting at each and every board meeting, our reporting is informed by a delegation of authority that is assigned to me as the principal officer. And it is also structured in a manner that ensures that I don't find myself having to run to the board every time when we have a claim that is out of the ordinary. So beyond a certain threshold, our reporting requirements include us having to alert, to the board at each and every board meeting of claims that are above a certain threshold. Now, it's for that reason that I have a very good example in mind to respond to what you have raised, Toneshan. The member in question was about 37 years old.
Still young, sure.
Yeah, still young. And I mean, this is why this specific example, stood out. Yes. And the conditions that we're presenting included neurological complications that manifested in long stays in, in high care and ICU for a period of more than 12 months.
Sure.
Which also included the specific member having, to go to a step-down facility, at an appropriate time. And the costs for that specific member alone were about 6.7 million.
Yo, wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, and the member happened to be on one of the lower cost benefit options, not in the top end. And we actually worked out that looking at the contribution that the member was making, the member would have had to pay us for about 151 years.
Sure, 151 years.
151 years to get to that amount.
To pay that 6 months. But
that's right.
This is actually the underappreciation and where the true value of medical schemes comes in, right?
Yes.
No one, I mean, okay, very few people have 6 million in their bank account.
Absolutely.
To pay for it. And this is where medical schemes step up to cover you.
I fully agree.
And at age 37, right? I mean,
age 37.
That is like, just past your prime, but like you're still young. You're able to do so much. Wow.
No, absolutely. And I think it's also fair to make the point that the general thinking is that this is exactly why we should have medical aid for these catastrophic and unexpected events. But yeah, it's a very good example, and it jumped at me. It would have made sense if we were talking about an elderly person.
Yeah.
And in this instance, we're talking about a 37-year-old.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, I think let's move to a bit more like, so we know, right, and based on the schemes are actually shaped by hospital-focused PMBs, right, prescribed minimum benefits. Yet there's growing recognition, that prevention, primary care, and employee wellness are actually critical.
Yes.
So how does Bankmed approach wellness within these constraints?
Yeah. I like this question because we see our partnership with our employer group clients as a partnership in health and wellness.
Yes.
Invariably, and you will appreciate this because at some point in time you worked for a bank, these progressive and leading banking institutions often have wellness departments.
Yes.
And this is informed by the appreciation of the fact that for a bank, for these institutions to achieve their organizational objectives, they need their human capital healthy and at work. So the first thing that we do in our approach in this regard is to, really interact with our clients in a manner that ensures some alignment in our strategies to ensure that the healthcare solutions that we put together in the healthcare space are very much responsive to the requirements of our employer group clients. So that's the first thing. It is at a very high, partnership level, and this has informed us designing our benefits in a manner that ensures that we have a spectrum of rich wellness benefits that are actually falling under insured benefits as opposed to savings.
Yes.
And we also come to an agreement with our employer group clients in as far as having screening interventions both at work and where it is possible. We also visit our members at home to make sure that we create an environment where the members are fully aware of their healthcare conditions and status, to take advantage of other benefits that they have access to as a result of them now having become aware of the conditions that they live with. So it's a very holistic and end-to-end kind of strategy that we agree on with our employer group clients, because we see wellness as being critical, as opposed to us surrendering to the accusation that medical schemes have historically been hospital-centric, where they intervene at a time when people are en route, to hospital.
So, I mean, you hit on a very important point, right? And it goes to the proverb, health is wellness, right?
Yes.
And health is wealth. And the reason being is because once you actually got health, you're productive, you contribute to the economy, you contribute to the GDP, which is so needed.
Absolutely.
And I think we see it there. We need a functioning financial system. We need a functioning, a banking sector. And I think that's part of where the wellness comes in.
Yeah.
And I must say, when I was at the bank, actually, attending one of these wellness sessions, I actually got diagnosed with hyperlipidemia, high cholesterol.
Wow.
And that's exactly how it prompted me. I'm probably alive today because I got diagnosed then and was able to get the right treatment. And that's
I like that.
And that's the beauty of these wellness treatments.
Yeah, I mean, this is important because I think some employees do not have full appreciation of the usefulness of participating, in these initiatives, because we really want to make sure that we invest a lot more in our members being healthy.
Yes, exactly.
To avoid downstream costs, which will also be catastrophic, not only to the individuals, but cost a lot more for the scheme as well.
Great. So I want to touch on technology, right? I mean,
Yes.
technology is becoming a bigger part of healthcare. So what role do you see for tools like wearables or AI, in helping members take control of their health?
Yeah.
And how is Bankmed, embracing these?
Yeah. Now, one of the points that I made earlier on to Nation was that we happen to be in partnership with banking institutions who are really taking the lead in how they optimize, technology across a number of areas in their businesses, and it is partly for this reason, amongst others, that we have as one of the attributes of our value proposition, recognize technology and innovation as an enabler. So we sort of recognize it up front, and the strategic initiatives and the things that we do are informed by that commitment, if you like. So we have very integrated, solutions that include, encouraging our members to make use of wearable devices. And this is also a tool that becomes useful in the members utilizing our wellness benefit option. And we also have invested in a Bankmed Health app, which is subjected to ongoing enhancements. And there are tools like the electronic health record as well.
Yes.
And these are just a few examples of what we do in as far as the technology space. And it's critical for us to stay on our toes in that space, because this is critical for us to remain relevant in the foreseeable future. And at the very least, we have to keep up with what our employer group clients are doing, and where we can, try as much as possible to stay ahead.
So we are seeing, because of the stigma, but we are seeing a sharp rise in demand for mental health, support. Is this something you're seeing within the Bankmed space? And very briefly, how are you actually supporting mental health?
Yeah, so now we really benefit from our governance structure at the level of, the board of trustees, having representation from the employer group clients, who give us insights into the prevalence of, mental health challenges. So we have an advantage that flows from that then enables us, to co-create solutions that are responsive to that kind of challenge. You may recall, after COVID, mental health challenges were sort of manifesting as a silent kind of pandemic. So we are certainly acutely aware of it, and we have really introduced even dedicated benefits that are aimed at responding to this challenge, and we encourage our members to make use of our electronic assessment, tools, so that to the extent that reveals anything that requires attention, we can then channel them appropriately so that they can access the rich set of benefits that are, already there. So there's co-creation and some dedicated benefits which are aimed at responding in an intentional manner to this challenge.
So I think from experience, all right, members do not always use their benefits optimally, and I think your daughter was a perfect example there. But what practical tips can help members extend their benefits or savings during the year?
Yeah. Now, just building on what I said about my, my daughter, I think we would certainly encourage our members to make use of our apps and even the website to find healthcare practitioners that are in the network or, are in partnership with us as designated service providers. And I mean, the tools are there, they are fingertips.
All digital tools.
Exactly. So they must make the most of that. It also helps to participate fully in these, screening initiatives, which ensure that you don't find yourself having to use your savings for health screening. So there is absolutely no need for any member to use savings for, for screening. It is also helpful for us to be alert when we get medication at pharmacists and ensure that there is absolutely nothing wrong with generics.
Absolutely. I'm on generics 100%.
Yeah, so there is that. And registering on our healthcare programs is really a big one. And I can't say that more because interestingly, these healthcare programs that we invest in actually give you access to even higher richness of benefits and more support. Our success indicator in that space is more members registering on those programs, and it's not going in the right direction enough, and we are pushing hard to make sure that we encourage members to take advantage of that. So those are a few tips that we would certainly highlight to our members to take advantage of and register for chronic illness benefits as quickly as possible, which relates to the point that you made earlier on. And I think we will continue to do our best to create awareness on the part of the members to make the most of these tools that are available at no additional cost to them at all.
So I can't not ask this question, right? So, but let's zoom out now. Let's leave that for a moment. So let's zoom out to the broader system. So, there's this whole debate with NHI and this, but having said that, there's a broad agreement across everyone that the goal of universal health coverage is what we all aspire to, right?
Absolutely.
But less agreement on how we get there. And I think that's where the tricky point is. But from your perspective, right, and very briefly, what do you think a practical path forward would look like? And what do you think the role of Bankmed would be in that kind of model?
Yeah. Now, Toneshan, you'll bear with me for taking advantage of the fact that as Bankmed, we happen to be members of the Health Funders Association. And that was a deliberate decision as we were having conversations about developments in the regulatory space, including about NHI, when we decided that to the extent that the healthcare landscape needs to change and may change one way or the other, for us to influence how it changes in a manner that serves the interests of our members first and South Africans in general, we can't do it alone. We have to do it as a collective. That's the reason why we decided to join the Health Funders Association. And we are talking at a time when, and we're making reference to NHI just as an example. We are talking at the time when solutions have been put on the table, including a solution that has been tabled by the HFA about how we can really move forward in a manner that secures an inclusive solution, a sustainable solution that is in the interest of all South Africans. So it is through our association with the Health Funders Association, who are in turn a member of Business Unity South Africa, that we as Bankmed, are playing a role. My observations is that we are definitely making impact, through collaboration, as a collective. I can take you through the details of the plan that you yourself, have presented, but that will take a whole day.
No, it's fine. Thank you. And I think the most important thing to message to your members is, Bankmed is here to stay. Bankmed is here to protect your members.
Yeah.
There is a legitimate path forward and co-creation and collaboration, which will work closely together with it. So Teddy, before we close, let us do a quick rapid fire. No long answers here.
Oh, okay.
Just your instinct, right? So, early morning or late night?
Early morning.
Spreadsheet or strategy session?
Strategy session.
Prevention or cure?
Prevention.
Worst thing about your job?
I think that's a trap. I still want to stay in this job, so I'm not telling you that one.
Fine. We'll pass. Best thing you like about your job?
It has to be my team, man. It has to be my team, and those occasions when you feel, Tunesh, that you have. You showed up when a member needed you the most. That gives me great joy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. AI doctor or human doctor?
Can I say both?
More choice or simplicity for members?
Simplicity.
Biggest misconception about medical schemes?
I would say it's a perception that medical aid cover is more expensive than investing in a health insurance product. I mean, I can talk the whole day about that. Many instances, the health care insurance product may be appealing from a price point perspective. But if one has better understanding of, we gave an example earlier on. Yes. I think there's value in having medical aid.
The 6.7 million rand,
yeah,
definitely. And then just before my final question, outside of healthcare, how do you unwind? On a more personal note.
Yeah. I like watching action movies, believe it or not.
Sylvester Stallone, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
While my wife
Chuck
watches
Norris.
some Korean movies, she's into that in a big way.
Okay, and then you've been through a number of leadership experiences. What's maybe your biggest leadership lesson?
Yeah, Tunesh, my biggest leadership lesson is that when there is clarity of purpose,
yes,
okay, in a setup where you are entrusted with the responsibility to lead people, when there is clarity of purpose, it's easy to secure a psychological contract. And once that is secured, you find people very proactive in taking action because we know in which direction we're going. This is what I'm experiencing, with my team, and that's exactly why, to the question that you asked earlier on about what I enjoy most about my job, it is really the team that I work with, and what keeps us going and moving in the same direction is clarity of purpose.
That's so important. And then when the camera's not reeling, I'm going to ask you what your worst part of your job is. Okay, and then finally, the question we ask every guest.
Yeah.
If we want to build the health system South Africa truly deserves, what is the one change that would make the biggest difference?
Yeah, the one change, Tunesh, in my view, is that we must trust each other again. This is informed by what I believe is a trust deficit that exists amongst the players who are really best placed to craft an inclusive solution, for all South Africans going forward. Now, I'm saying trust each other again because the South Africa that we live in now is an outcome of us having trusted each other before 1994, at a time when we had lots of reasons not to trust each other.
Absolutely.
So I would certainly say, we have to trust each other again. But if I can sneak in another one,
Sure.
and that is, there was a lot of investment that went into the health market inquiry.
Yes.
Okay, and a lot of exceptional work was done through that process. What would really take us forward is the implementation of the recommendations that came from that exercise.
Hallelujah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Teddy, thank you for sharing your insights with us today. I think what comes through clearly is that building a sustainable healthcare system is not only about policy and funding models, right? It's about understanding members, responding to changing needs, and making better decisions across the entire patient journey.
Absolutely.
And of course, funding those patients that need it when we need to. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on Building the Health System We Deserve, and a podcast from Health Funders Association. Until next time.